Every level of new spiritual responsibility comes a greater level of some attack. It could be money, it could be kids, it's whatever.
Right.
So
wherever you're the most vulnerable.
Wherever you're the most vulnerable, and then you've got an opportunity, if you see it like this, an opportunity to create a strength out of revelation and a greater level of authority in that sphere.
Hello there, and welcome to this episode of the God Seeker Podcast. So glad that you joined in today. We have a really great program for you today, and excited about you being here. And you know, if this is maybe your second or third time to see the kind of content that we're creating, it'd be great for you to join our podcast family. You can just take like and subscribe, and we'd love to have you as part of our podcast family. Today, have as my guest all the way from the Gold Coast of Australia, we got John and Danielle Pierce.
Hi, Joe.
Hey. Hello, Pastor John.
How you doing? So good to see you guys.
Oh, we're so excited
Thank you for being here. Yeah. We're all going to a conference down in Florida together. You guys are over from Australia. And the first stop in America is Dallas.
Yes, we're coming to the best place, they tell us.
That's right.
The
It's the best barbecue.
The
That's
barbecue was amazing. Hello, Terry Black. Beautiful. Love it.
Yeah. So we're glad that you're here and glad you're part of that. And of course, tomorrow you're going to be preaching John here, and we're excited about that.
Yes.
But I wanted to cover some of the things that we can't cover everything, you know, when you come in to preach. There's only so much time.
Right.
But I want this to make this moment a time where people can kind of get to know you guys.
Great.
And how you love each other, how you operate, how you raise your children together, how you lead in a church.
There we go.
All those things.
All those things.
Right.
Is this therapy for us?
I was going to say I'm happy.
That's why he brought us here.
I need to.
You're going to counsel us, aren't you?
That's right.
That's awesome.
So, Daniel, let's start with you. Tell me how you got to where you are today. Where did you grow up, and when did you become a Christian? And
Yeah, well, I grew up in New South Wales, near Sydney, for the first 15 years of my life, and then my family moved up to Queensland, and I was living in this town there, finishing my schooling, doing uni. John's family had also moved to that same town, and he'd finished school, was doing uni, and same church. And he came and spoke at one of the school functions because he'd been to the school that I was finishing at. Anyway, I just had a God thought in that moment that he was speaking, you're going to marry that man.
Oh, wow.
And it was just so out of left field for me. I wasn't thinking it, seeing it coming. I didn't even recognize it was the Holy Spirit, actually. Yeah. I had grown up in a Christian family, and I was in a Christian school, and I just sort of put it to the side and thought, oh, we'll see what happens with that sort of. And so years later, maybe 6 years later, we both ended up on the Sunshine Coast where we're now living and pastoring, and that's where we started striking up a friendship.
You know, I have to stop you right there.
Right.
I said you're from the Gold Coast.
We let that slide.
Y'all let that slide. Don't let that slide.
Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast.
I get so confused about all the different coasts.
Australia, right?
The Sunshine Coast.
Yeah.
Okay, so good.
That's all right. We don't understand all of American geography either.
That's all good. True. So I like to say that a couple of things. Danielle obviously was a great young lady, and God rewarded her by whispering that to her.
Yeah.
But I also like to say, God really knew me, and He had mercy on me and gave me the best. He knew I needed someone awesome.
God was punishing her.
Punishing her from another life.
True. Come on now. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm glad he did.
Yeah.
Everything sort of led to that moment that we were on the Sunshine Coast in the same little church plant there, and then it sort of came back to me. You're going to marry that man. I didn't spiritualize it or tell him about it. It was just like, let's see if we get along.
Yeah.
Just strike up a friendship, and we just really.
And I was clueless. I was praying for a wife, and I was actually living. There's a few of us mates were living in a bachelor pad, and one of them was Danielle's oldest brother, who's one of my best mates.
Oh wow!
So she would come around to visit her brother.
Of course.
But I didn't realize that it wasn't him she was visiting, it was me.
I had to get a little non-subtle towards the end.
She got a wingman, one of my other bachelor guys, he became the wingman, started to intervene, and And I was just,
Come on.
honestly, this is
What a
what happened. One day
guy.
he goes to me, he said to me, so what are you looking for? And I put through my list. I'm looking for a woman of God. I want someone who's smart. I want someone who's funny. Someone, I went through this list.
Loves Jesus.
Yeah. And then he goes, and what about Danielle? And I'm like, I went through my list and I just had this moment like, oh my gosh, because she was a friend.
Yeah.
She's in the friend zone. We were hanging out. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's everything on my list.
Wow.
Who
Scales
knew?
fell off.
Yeah. I was probably about 4
Cupid's
short things on her
bow.
list. She had a longer list, but God said, so what could she say?
Yeah, exactly. But very similar thing happened to us. I mean,
Really?
I saw Nancy at a party, and the Lord spoke to me.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, said that's going to be your wife.
There we go.
So it's a lot
doesn't always
much longer
happen,
than
but-
that, but
Yeah,
that's how it all
yeah.
worked
Yeah.
out.
That's right.
Special.
Yeah, we always try and tell people that's not always God when you have that voice in your head.
right.
So don't tell them that
right.
straight away.
That's
So she's the very prophetic voice. So
Yeah.
you didn't realize at the time, but
No, not at all.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm glad he did.
great, fantastic. So you guys joined this church plant on the Sunshine Coast, and before long, the pastor leaves.
Yeah.
Goes
yeah.
to Canada,
Yeah.
planted a church
Yeah,
in
he
Canada.
married us.
Yeah,
he married us first
yeah.
and dedicated our first baby.
Yep.
And we were just, living a great young couple, young family life.
Danielle's
John
a
was
nurse,
in business.
Yeah.
so-
I'm a midwife.
Yep.
So I was working in hospitals and John working in business. And we were just, serving the Lord.
Quietly living our
Having
own
a little
lives.
small
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before
just,
you know it, suddenly we're thrown in the deep end.
Yeah.
29,
Yeah,
27,
seriously.
and neither of us had done Bible college, neither of us had done seminary or preparation. So we'd been in church all our lives,
Yeah.
love God, but it was the deep end.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, probably partly my dream, but not necessarily yours, looking
Right.
back at the time. Like
Yeah.
I had the dream of I'm going to preach. I didn't put that together with being a pastor. I'm going to preach. I want to see people come to Christ. And yours was more, you want to serve and be used by God.
Yeah,
But
And John's a natural leader, and whereas I'm not. And I was a reluctant leader. I was happy to serve and just be involved in different areas, but wasn't a born leader, more of a formed leader. But then that took a long time. So it was a real, big step for me.
Yeah.
And I was in early young mum stage, so I was quite
Yeah.
immersed in that. So even when we started being the senior pastors, John was a lot more involved than I was. And I was happy for that. Then we just had to discover what that looked like over the years. And as I came out of Young Mum Zone and desires to step up were really stirring in me. So I really did want to be a part of it. It's just different stages and seasons of life.
Did you feel
too.
any resistance as once your kids begin to, they can sort of take care of themselves, they can dress themselves, they can, all that sort. Then you begin to have space and time in your day.
Yeah.
And you begin to say, okay, well, I can help out more at the church.
Yeah.
And that keeps growing to finally you've got your whole day you could do something, right?
Yeah.
Did you find any pressure or any pushback from people or, hey, you've been over here being a mom.
Right.
What are you doing getting in our lane? Did you feel that? I mean,
Right.
nobody, of course, would ever say it that way, I don't think.
Yeah. I guess it was quite a subtle sort of thing, a slow progression, because I still had the nursing thing going on as well. So I had the 3 different worlds and the mum world, and we had a couple more kids after we became the pastors. And then I had the nursing world, the midwife, which I really wanted to be involved in, and then the church. So it was more a struggle for me as to how much time I could spend in different worlds. So it was not a full immersion in the pastoring world, which probably would have stepped on toes if I had have done
Early
that.
stages.
So it was just a very slow. I can't remember there being a lot of resistance so much.
not particularly. And we, one of the
just
cool
finding
things
my
with
feet.
C3 is there has been some great models of couples leading. So you would have Phil and Chris Pringle.
Yeah.
Early days it would be people like Gordon and Joe Moore. You'd have Simon and Helen McIntyre. The early days, Mark and Bernie Kelsey. So it was kind of almost like a normal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was cool. So it just gave us permission to, from the get-go, it's John and Danielle are taking over the church.
Yeah.
But we're going to be going at different paces. And we weren't in a staffing position to pay Danielle, and I didn't go full-time until probably 4 years in. So Yeah, it was just bit by bit doing little things.
Yeah, probably in our language we had been using that we terminology even when I wasn't up front or heavily involved. It was our church and we're making decisions and we're leading. And so then as I was able to get more involved, it was accepted, it was welcomed, encouraged.
What did you sort of discover your gift by getting involved? And I know, John, of course, is very gifted leadership-wise and strategically thinking and all that stuff.
Yeah.
How do you complement that, or do you guys have the same sort of gift set? How does that work?
No, we are a different skill mix.
Now the fun begins.
And different styles as well. And not having been in leadership so much and, just discovering what are my skills, because I didn't know a lot of that until I was stepping into different areas and finding out. Even preaching, I would say I don't want to preach. Never put me in front of a microphone. Like, I don't want. Yeah. And when we became pastors, it's like, well, God, if you want that, I submit it to you, but you have to give me a desire to do that, because I don't want to be reluctant for the rest of my life, but sort of in that world. And that has happened, but it's over so long. I'm much more gifted in administration, organizational leadership, and prophetic. And I didn't discover that until I was walking in that, leading in that for a long time. So pastoring now for 28 years, 25 as the senior pastors. And it has, I'm still discovering things.
Yeah.
One of the cool things that we sort of agreed on in the early days is you don't have to be like this person or that person. So we are not Phil and Chris Pringle. We're not Gordon and Joe Moore or whoever it might be. So really it was more a matter of, let's go on this journey of discovering what I'm good at, what my grace is, where God breathes on what I do, and the same for Danielle. And so that was, although our language publicly was, hey, we're the senior pastors together. In reality, that meant a lot of the early days. The key part Danielle had was in input into decisions, discernment. You know, so I'm way more likely to go, let's go and do this. It'll be awesome. Let's get that person on team. They'll be awesome. And Danielle, more prophetic discernment, will go,
slow down.
And I'm like, oh, don't do that. I'm ready to go. But I had to learn through mistakes and trial and error. So that would have been one of her early gifts, the ability just to be a kind of a checker on ideas. And then bit by bit, we're like, okay, you don't have to do women's ministry if you don't want to, or you don't have to. What are you passionate about? Where do you want to get involved? And so that was layer by layer, wasn't it?
John was very patient with me, because I am a slow to adapt sort of a person, and even the leadership reluctance, which was quite obvious in those early years, and just sort of not pushing me into things, but just gently encouraging and being kind and patient throughout that has been really helpful for me because of my makeup. So we could look at different models of leadership and couples leading churches, and even people look at us, but it's like you can see the different models. You have to work it out for yourself, what that looks like for you, with your skill mixes, with your seasons of life, just with your personalities even. It's such a trial and error
funny
thing,
for
like
us. So we've recently done some Gallup Strength Finder tests, all right? And so one of mine is my strength is always I love change and want to initiate change. So my number one is strategic. And so it has this line when it described it as, you love to be able to make mid-course adjustments. You love to be able to go, this is not working, let's shift it to that. Danielle's number one is consistency.
Stay on the track.
She loves consistency. So this is it's like God's sense of humor. But also it makes us
don't like mid-course adjustment. Just you make a decision, let's follow through on it until we see it through.
If we got an 80% plan, we're good. But if we got a 50% plan, let's go and build that plane in the air, baby. Away we go.
We can shift it.
So both of us have had to adjust, and it's made us better together. Because there's, like you said, you've become a better leader, and I've become more of a planner and more have to think things through rather than just going off half prepared. So it's been good for us. Not without lots of fun moments along the way.
Sure.
Tensions, mount.
Sure. And how would those tensions... Let's talk a little bit about
Come on,
that.
I want to go first. All right? No, I want to tell you. So obviously, you get into ministry together. We get into ministry, and you step into the spiritual warfare zone.
Yep.
If you're
I think that's what people really have to understand.
Yeah.
It's not like a couple sitting in the audience.
No.
Yeah.
It's a different
It's
level.
not like running a business together. It's not like, so it's not just an organization. You step into spiritual warfare. The moment we became senior pastors, I felt like literally the day we became senior pastors, my job description didn't change, but I felt depressed immediately. A weight hit me.
That's not your nature.
And that's not my nature.
Never.
So it's like, so that pressure on an individual, then it comes on a couple. So like one of our classic early days is leading a small group before we were senior pastors, and probably one of the biggest fights we've had was literally about 30 seconds before opening the door to welcome everybody in the small group. Hey,
so good to see you.
God bless you guys. Come on in. Can you feel that? So it was just like a heat. I can't even remember what the argument was about, but that extra pressure on normal tensions. And so we're like, okay, this is real. There's a warfare that goes with that.
Yeah.
So
I think until you've had to get kids dressed in the morning, get them fed, get them in the car, heading to church, have a big fight on the way there, only to know that the moment you step out of the car, you got to be on.
That's why we would go in separate cars for many years.
Yeah,
That's what we did. We did the same thing. Same thing.
Don't even drive together.
I left the house when the kids got up for either. I didn't want and we did the same thing, coming to the car, and we still do.
Now our kids are empty nesters. We've gone back to going together.
Yeah, that's good.
Not as well. I think, for us to have a good marriage, before we start working together or working on our marriage so that we do have a good relationship.
Yes.
And so we do like each other.
Yeah.
We do love hanging out anyway. So we've worked on the ways to discuss things. We know now how to pray together. We didn't at the start. That was a tension point because I wasn't flowing with his style of prayer and vice versa. So even that. So just to have a good foundational marriage, even before we throw in the pastor leader realm, is really good. So for us to work on our marriage, go to counselling if we need counselling, which we did, and we get a better marriage, better communication, and then being able to work together with the different strengths, communication styles, just capacities even, and then working out along the way because you hit the snags and then you go, oh, okay, that's not working. Yes. So, that's definitely, we have a lot of meetings together, which generally, I feel like now we've worked a lot out because we've been married nearly 30 years and we do understand.
Been leading together for 25 as senior pastors. So.
Each other really well that we can just put things aside. But there's definitely been tense moments at the office, Joe, where we are barely on talking terms, but then we're in a meeting together being very civil and being, able
with
to
other people in the room. Or you come home and you go, how's your day, honey? I had a tough day. This person at my work was so painful.
It was a jerk. It was a jerk.
So we do joke. I think, and Danielle referred to that, and probably part of our core theology almost that undergirds what we do is that my first priority is my relationship with the Lord, whether I'm a pastor or not, that I'm a disciple of Jesus. I want to walk with him. Then my next key relationship is with Danielle. And so it's actually was part of our wedding vows that she would be my number one priority as I stand before God. Then for us together, our next priority is our kids. That's my first church, and looking after, raising them, discipling them, praying for them. And then I love where Joshua says, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So our family's priority is then the house of God, and then out of that, whatever spheres God's called you to. So understanding that, we've always had this a vision board, and one of our vision is to have an outstanding marriage. Now, sometimes that means I've done something stupid and I'm outstanding in the garden wondering what I've done, right? But as a general rule,
Not really.
has it always been outstanding? No, but it's a goal for us, and we work towards it. We invest in it. So you can't work well together if you don't actually focus on building a great marriage. So that's been
you talked about spiritual warfare. Do you feel it the same way now as you did when you first felt it? Is it different now? Do you feel like you have the victory? Do you?
Yeah, absolutely.
How does that work?
Oh, I mean, we still get it thrown at us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I guess God's the third strand in the cord of our marriage. So he keeps us centered together, and that's a real key for us, praying together pretty much every day. We pray together. We have our own quiet time, devotional on our own, and then together praying, knowing that is the strength that we go into battles or things get thrown at us, or
Might just be for
we
5
don't
or 10
even
minutes, but
to pray together, but still things happen. You're stepping up into leadership in another realm, or you've got a vision builders coming up, and that's coming
you're
at
leading
you.
a conference.
And
Every
so I think,
key strategic moment.
I think our
heightened.
awareness of it now is a lot better than it used to be. Whereas early days, we'd just think, well, you're driving me nuts. It's your problem. Now it's kind of like, why are we feeling like that? Why is there so much tension?
Why are we antsy?
Oh, there could be another thing going on here.
We'd be away on a holiday and drive back home. And as we're driving home, we start having an argument.
Yeah.
And you're like, why? We're good. But you're coming back into your zone.
territory.
Right.
So, but the answer to that question, did that depression or heaviness? So the picture that I have of it is in the moment of stepping into a leadership role, and people have this, whether it's a small group, or whatever it is, anything spiritually significant that's going to advance the kingdom, you step into, bigger levels, bigger devils. That's reality. Right. So my picture of it, Pastor Joe, is that God gives you a sword, which is the authority for that role that he appoints you to. But your muscles to use the sword might not be strong enough.
Yeah.
So God gives you the authority, but the power, which comes out of prayer, the word, waiting on God. It's like Jesus said, you guys, you're not able to get that demon out because you need more prayer.
Yeah.
So what I learned is, okay, I've got the authority to lead a church, but I've got to grow into the power. That's prayer, Bible reading. That's me and overcoming. So every new level of responsibility that we've gone into has involved a new level of spiritual warfare. And the enemy, he looks for your Achilles heel.
Yeah.
So is it health? Is it your marriage? So there'd be one season where we took on the role of leading C3 Australia, and our marriage was the pressure point. And we'd had some stuff that we were like, we haven't worked this stuff out, and it just, the squeeze came on that. So we did get some counseling, it really helped. But just, that's the reality of every level of new spiritual responsibility comes a greater level of some attack. It could be money, it could be kids, it's whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Wherever you're the most vulnerable.
Wherever you're the most vulnerable, and then you've got an opportunity, if you see it like this, an opportunity to create a strength out of revelation and a greater level of authority in that sphere.
Yeah. I think something else in all this mix was that at some point we had to decide that we are not competing
Yes.
as a husband and wife.
Right.
Yes.
You don't have to compete with me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to compete with you.
Yeah.
We are complementing
Yes.
each
Yes.
other. We're
Yes.
standing with each other. I'm
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Biggest fan. We
Yeah.
use that language. I'm
Yeah.
the biggest fan. Danielle's awesome at encouraging me. She's awesome at seeing the best in me. And we've tried to make that we definitely help develop each other. We're both each other's probably biggest coach as well, because we're up close. But that's off the back of being our biggest fans.
Yeah.
We do this little thing once a month where we sit together in an official, we have a summit, we call it, for about 3 or 4 hours once a month, where we're planning everything to do with our life, church, everything. And we sit there. I'm married to a genius planner, so she brings the calendars and everything.
Yeah.
We go through it. But one little thing we do is we call it start, stop, keep. What's something that I should keep doing? What should I start doing? What should I stop doing?
Yeah.
And it's the opportunity, because I don't love live feedback in the moment. I don't like being told this is not cool.
Yeah.
But it's that moment for us to.
We used to do that.
Yeah, we used to do that. So it's that moment for us to just, okay, how do we? And that could be to do with our marriage, our parenting, our leadership. Anything. It's like, what's my blind spots?
Yeah.
So we would do that with leaders over us.
Yeah.
But to do it, we do it once a month with each other.
Start, stop,
Start,
keep.
stop, keep. And
I
so
love that.
it's
I never
just-
heard that before.
It's just
Yeah.
really good. We do it with all our staff and
We
team
didn't
as
come
well.
up with it, I don't
No. Of course the Lord downloaded that
I
to my
don't think
soul as I read a book from somebody.
That's right. That's right. The Lord spoke to me.
The Lord spoke to
out of the book.
through someone. Exactly.
Or you have to trust the voice speaking into your life, and that there is encouragement in that. Keep being awesome. Keep amazing preaching.
It's like
keep leading people
5 or 6, keep doing these things. These are amazing. What you bring to the table is incredible.
Yeah.
And then, hey, you might not be aware. That's good language.
Yeah.
You might not be aware, but when you talk like this or
when
whatever.
you make decisions out of the blue.
When you
they
make
affect
decisions and
people
don't include me in it, hypothetically, when you tell the staff we're doing this new thing and I'm not aware,
I'm the last one to hear
hypothetically, that sort of stuff.
That is rough, and I've been guilty of that a lot.
Guilty as charged.
That's right.
And it takes all that passion out of it, or a bit of venom sometimes in the moment. So when you know that monthly you're able to share some of those things, it's kind of like just put it to the side, and you don't have to follow it up straight away.
If it's a big or triggering thing, we'll talk about it straight away.
Yeah.
Openness to that is helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a process, right? I mean, and the thing about it is, it's not a straight line because you're changing.
Yes.
You're
right.
You're growing.
Always.
And, your life is changing. Your seasons of life are changing. All those things, and so it's a constant. Yeah. It's a work in progress.
Yes.
That's what I tell people.
Yeah, it is a work in progress.
We are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're growing. And so having voices in have been really important too. People have spoken into our world. I think that would be probably one of our greatest leadership revelation is to make sure we've got friends, absolutely your peers, but really that there's, I would tell pastors to have 3 or 4 leaders or couples who you can sort of see a bit of yourself in, like you aspire, you like the fruit of their life, and they're accessible. So, like Stephen Furtick's an awesome preacher, but he's not accessible for me to sit down and have coffee with every month. But there are people who are accessible, and you want to bring them into your world so that they can, when someone says, "Oh, I listened to that podcast and I'm mentored by that person," I'm like, yeah, but you just get to pick and choose what you like. That's not being mentored, right? But when someone gets up close and sees, and so we would over the years have had always 3 or 4 key couples who could come and who we could say, hey, this is not working. What should we do? Or what can you see in us? Or Danielle would talk to the wife, and then the husband would talk to me. It's that
Can
kind
you
of vibe.
please help him on this one area?
Are you aware, Danielle? No, I wasn't aware.
And probably out of that, I think one of the things that's helped us is having our own lanes that we're working within. And so we know, our team knows. And so John he's obviously responsible for different things than I'm, like the finances and the preaching and the business side of things. And I'm responsible for the organizational calendar, services, events, just all of those things. So then it's like not that we work like this, but you work in your lane, I'll work in and we do talk about a lot, but if there's ownership there and we know what we're focused on, our team do as
and
well.
And there's a trust there. Hey, whatever
really
you decide, honey, I think it'll be great. I'm with you. I'm standing with you on it.
Yeah. And it's a leadership print. Ultimately, it's the same with other key staff. If you're the executive pastor over that area, then I'm going to empower you, give you authority. Now, if I want something to change in that area, or I want to have a voice into that area, I'm going to have a chat to you, not to them.
That's right.
Otherwise, it's disempowering. So we would,
or to me.
Yeah. In this, so it's a leadership principle.
Not
but in
like
this instance,
come across.
Yeah, I don't want Dan going, I'm going to go and talk to the board about something. I go, well, talk to me, and because I lead the board. That's my lane. Or you might be. Something along with the services and the plans of the services and worship, or having kind of clearly defined roles or lanes. It's good for us. It's also good for our staff.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they'll drop Pastor Danielle said we could do this. I'm like, well, that's not her lane. Or Pastor John said we could do that, right? Pastor Joe told us it's all right. Like, well, actually, you still got to get my sign off. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's been very helpful for us.
Yeah.
Well, it's a bit like Mum said I could do that. Like, did she really? I don't think she did.
Say no, I'm going to talk to Dad.
Right.
Yeah, amazing.
Leading together, a lot of fun, but it's not always fun. It does have its moments, and then you have to go home and family life and still have your personal relationship. And so being able to leave some of that there or talking about it in a good, healthy way. But it's
It's like, do I want to have this conversation now and ruin dinner?
Yeah.
I want to have this conversation now and wreck the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, to me, when I get home, I'm sort of out of words.
Right.
Right? I mean, I've been
Okay.
talking all day,
Yeah.
and I'm sort of out of words, and I don't really want to talk about some of the things when I'm in church.
Yeah.
Nancy's just the opposite.
Right.
Got
Right.
plenty of words left
Yeah.
and wants to
Hasn't
talk
used
about
them
it.
up.
Yeah.
And so you really have to learn how to navigate all
yes.
that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So-
yeah.
Or even just having the look, we'll talk about it for 10 minutes and then we'll call it a day.
Yeah.
Rather than this is going to keep coming into our conversation the whole of the night.
Yes.
Just like let's just wrap the day up.
Yes.
Give it 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, and then let's make sure
Go
that
for a
there's
walk.
fun things that we do together that's not work. Because I think one of
Yeah.
the risks can be for couples who work together or pastor together is they become almost functional in their marriage.
Yeah.
And so they're a great team, but not necessarily in love.
Yeah.
Don't love doing fun
like a
stuff
transaction,
together.
right?
Yeah, exactly. So to go, all right, well, what on a day off, we're not going to talk about church. What are we going to do that's fun? What are we going to do that's life-giving? So, continuing to work on that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Still having things to talk about.
yeah. Yeah. One thing I'm really happy about over the years that has changed since I first got into ministry, and that is people discussing and talking about mental health.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I first got in, it was a cardinal sin for a pastor to say he was depressed. Well, now it's kind of the it's the
trendy.
badge. Yeah, hey, come on. Yeah, you're singing my tune, baby.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, have you guys had to deal with mental health issues? I mean, have you anxieties? How do you handle that with your team?
Yep.
Are you transparent about it? How does that work? I mean, it's obviously, to me, there are going to be people out there listening that are having to deal with their own mental health issues.
Yes.
What's safe and what's not safe? What do you do as a leader? What do you not do as a leader?
Really
Could
great.
you-
Great question. Because I think leading authentically is really important, and I probably think in circles. So I would think, where there's been tough seasons that we've been through, whether it's one of our health, like physical health, which then affects your emotional and mental health, whether it's been, the marriage challenge, whether it's been teenage kids, whether it's been financial pressure. So you name them, we've had them in terms of, so I think struggling through those seasons. Now, we might not have called it mental health. We'd just go, look, this is overwhelming, or this is challenging, or this is anxiety-inducing, or whatever it might be. One of the things we learnt that I wasn't good at, Pastor Joe, was I used to think that any problems that I was having, I'm a man of God and I'm a faith guy.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take it to God.
Yeah.
Me and God are going to sort it out.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back and I'll lead Danielle out of a place of faith and optimism.
Yeah.
When we went and got some marriage coaching or counseling, whatever you want to call it, when we had that, the guy led us through this exercise and said, Danielle, do you want to know what John's thinking about or what pressures he's going through? And she's like, yeah, I do. And I'm like, no, won't that burden you? She says, no, I want you to let me into what's on your mind, not dump it on me, but let me in. And so that was probably one of the first greatest health things for us, to be able to go, okay, to sit down. And what we've learnt, the language is really good for me as a guy. So don't ask me what are you stressed about, because I'm not stressed. I'm good. Right?
Yeah, that's
Don't
right.
ask
I'm
me
above it.
Yeah,
I'm
don't
above
ask-
it.
no, come
Praise
on,
God.
me and Jesus, we got this.
Right.
Don't ask me what I'm anxious about. You
Or he's
know?
supposed to be a
Victorious.
bless God.
Yeah.
Bless God.
Yeah, he's a good praise God,
Overcomer.
right?
Yeah.
So don't ask me what I'm stressed about. Don't ask me what I'm anxious about.
Yeah.
Ask me what's on my mind.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about? And so we literally once a week, we have a ritual where we sit together, and it flows on a daily, but once a week, for 15 minutes each, what's on your mind? What do you, and it might be, well, I've got this preach coming up, or I've got this situation with that staff member, or, one of our kids, things going on, or whatever it might be. There's a range of what's on your minds, and actually sharing that. And when you share it, you feel the stress.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I hate the first part of this, but then there's like, oh, I didn't know, and you make room for each other, and we'll both do it. And we tap into the stress, but then we end up praying together for it,
Yeah.
and together bring it to the Lord, and it's remarkable.
Yeah.
That's probably been the last decade we've been doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been such a beautiful thing in terms of living without that or living above that. So that's the first circle. Then we would have some close friends, not necessarily who we would bring in if we're really under the pump in something, really stressed about something, we'd bring. And then, they're more a person like a Greg French, Pastor Phil's our overseer, so we'd bring them in on that. Got some intercessors who'll pray for us. A close core of the team who will let know to a degree of stuff of what's going on. But it's a tight circle. It's not like you have to stand up in the pulpit and go, "Hey, church, just want to be authentic and vulnerable." And I'm depressed this week.
Yeah.
I think that doesn't work.
No.
I think you share that after you've got victory.
Yeah.
But you've got to have an intimate, close friend group.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think for, just even understanding yourself and your gauges, we talk about gauges. What's your emotional gauge, your physical, your spiritual, mental gauge? Where are they at? And, they can be up and down during a week or a month or a season, and you're really low on all of your gauge. Like maybe your physical gauge is down, your emotional gauge, and your spiritual's down or it's up, or just even that acknowledgement to yourself and then others. So even now with our board, we do a check-in every 3 months, I think it is, and they ask us where are your gauges at, and if we're like emotionally, flat, or not just on the day, but in a season, just go, oh, this is getting on top of me, just so they know we're sort of vulnerable, I guess, a bit transparent in that sense of, hey, if we're not doing well, you guys need to know about that. And same with that circle that you've just talked about. I would say for me, I probably have a predisposition to anxiety, because that's just sort of my makeup and just the pre-planning. I can see everything that's coming up. I know it's going to be really crazy season or whatever, I can go to anxiety. So I've had to really work how to handle that. And whereas John would say he'd go to God and, give it all to him, I had to learn how to do that. So for me, that's been a real spiritual journey of going, bring all there's a scripture, bring all your cares and anxieties to the feet of the Lord, and measureless grace will strengthen you. Well, that's something I do every day, because I feel like not every day I'm overwhelmed by stuff, but certain days I need to give you this anxiety, worried about that, stressed about that, fearful about that. I've got doubts over here. I'm confused about that. And I literally have to bring it all to the feet of the cross, and then receive the presence of God, receive the measureless grace, receive the strength. And that has been a spiritual journey that I've had to really go on and strengthen, so that I can live on top of stuff that otherwise in my mind would just get bigger and overwhelm me. And so, that because of my makeup, that has been something that I'll go, oh, I need to, pray about this, as well as share and let other people in and have those safe outlets, I guess. But that what John was talking about, the time every week that we check in and have those not stressful conversation, what's on our mind, and pray into it, is a life-giving ritual, what we'd say. Like, we have to have that every single week. Like, we can't go by without it, or else it's sort of like it just, it gets bigger and bigger. If I've got a worry or a fear or a doubt about this, that just can get too big in my mind. So it's really great to share it, have prayer about it. And
then you've got more grace for each other. Like, oh, I didn't know you were stressed about this. I didn't know this was something that you're spending a lot of time thinking about. And then suddenly so the end of the question is there anything I can do to help at the end of that, as opposed to me, Mr. Fix-It, like,
Fix it.
oh, okay, let me solve a few of those problems, because they're pretty obvious. If you just do this, this, and this, that doesn't work. So
works with another guy.
So to God, is there something I can do to help? And we ask each other that, and that's also
Sometimes
very
there
helpful. Sometimes there is.
So you guys have got these weekly or monthly rituals, really, that you do.
Daily rituals, weekly, monthly.
Where you're checking in on each other, where you're talking about things that matter emotionally and importantly to you.
And for me, as a consistency person, that's really helpful for me to know that they're there, and that if we do pray together daily, we do have that weekly check-in or that conversation monthly, then that's what's going to be those life-giving rituals that we can live, because it's a big life and we've got a lot going on, and we do have a lot of stressors or situations or just that spiritual warfare going on. So if we've got those in, then we can, just live our best
if
life.
we're good together, then that just flows into so much else in a much better way. So prioritizing being good together is really healthy for us. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
One of here's the thing. A lot of us have just had to learn this, right?
Right.
There's no course on it.
Right.
There was no,
Right.
University of Emotional Health,
Template.
and none of that. In fact, it was kind of taboo to talk about it
Yes.
when we first got into the ministry.
Yep.
But I'm just wondering, I'm just thinking about those that are coming behind us, how great it would be if we could, help prepare them, get them into some of these rituals ahead of time.
Yes.
And sort of help them navigate the inevitable failures, the inevitable warfare, the inevitable disappointments, the inevitable sicknesses, diseases, the things that people have to have to really deal with. Runaway teenagers,
Yeah, all that.
Yeah. And are you doing that? Are you?
We do that both in a few ways. I mean, one of the greatest resources that's helped us that we recommend, and they're American-based, is the Gottman Institute.
Yeah.
So the Gottman Institute, they have one of their rituals they call a stress-reducing conversation. So that's really where we got that weekly check-in from. So if you're having these conversations, so we would push people towards some of the rituals, even how to make up after a big argument, like the aftermath of a regrettable incident, they call it. So
we're just not born with knowing how to have conflict well.
We
we're not
certainly didn't see our
necessarily
parents
taught
do
it.
it. I mean,
certainly didn't. I didn't see it modelled at all.
That was behind closed doors. It wasn't modelled or taught.
Yeah, exactly. But these kind of conversations, we definitely would teach it in our church, teach it to people, even in mentoring across the table. We would walk through and go, okay, let's talk about 5 or 6 really healthy, life-giving rituals. Are you having date night? I know you got kids, but are you having a date night going? And it doesn't have to be expensive. Are you getting away just without kids as a couple at least once a year? Are you going on family holidays? And all of these things, I'm planning. You're so proud of me, aren't you, babe? But all of those things, they build up to a great healthy life.
Yeah.
So rather than one big amazing experience, and I see these young guys go all out with a romantic gesture, and I'm like, man, you set the bar way too high. just do small things regularly.
Yeah.
So that's really important.
Yeah. I think that's been my weakness over the years is I want to plan a week-long or 10-day-long trip somewhere on vacation, and so between now and then, I'm going to really work hard, and you're not probably going to see me very much.
Right.
I promise you, that doesn't work. That doesn't work.
Come on, honey, it's for you. I'm doing all this for you.
That's right. So you really, I mean, you have to. We're sort of plowing ground that I'm just hoping that we can impart to the next generation so they don't have to plow the same ground.
Talking about it, sharing about it, teaching on it.
And they go, look, the hitting warfare is inevitable. And hitting tough moments and things where, where you kind of almost feel like you're fighting each other. That's an inevitable part of it. So at least knowing that and going, all right, we've got some tools in our belt though. We've got some ways forward that we can build and go the long distance with a great marriage. I heard this phrase earlier, is that I'd never want to sacrifice family or our marriage on the altar of ministry.
Yeah.
I don't think that's something that God requires us to sacrifice. Yeah. In fact, He looks for leaders who manage their family well. So that's the criteria. So to have it's just the best thing to have a great marriage. I mean, I see it like this. It's kind of cool that my best friend, I get to spend heaps of time with because we work together. So for the joking around about driving each other crazy, we get to be together a lot.
Yeah,
so that's what we really love. So and I get that not everybody's wired that way. Some people shouldn't work together, and that'll make their marriage better.
Yeah,
But
it doesn't make you more holy because you're doing it.
No,
it's just something that works well for you.
It's a fit for us, and in other cases it'll be, one person's on staff or one person's leading the church or and the other is fully supportive of that, but they're not wired or graced to be in that role, and that's it's just different.
Yeah, and it's okay.
It is okay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're not cookie-cuttered leaders, right?
Right, exactly.
So leading well as a couple really comes from living well as a couple.
Yeah. And we've got decades more of that in our life.
Yeah.
So after
going to be
all
living
this
longer
is
than
said
we're
and done,
leading, right?
We're still married and want to live great
Yep.
Great life together.
Yeah, I think when Nancy and I
Sweet
look
age.
back, I mean, it's our 40th anniversary
Amazing.
this
Hey,
next month.
congratulations.
And, we look back and see, thank you, Jesus,
Yes.
for
Yes.
keeping us together.
Exactly.
Because there were a lot of places we could have gotten
Yeah.
derailed.
Yeah.
And B is you just have this massive appreciation for this woman who stood by all your, stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And defended you
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Right.
encouraged you.
Yeah.
And so I find myself in
blessing.
this season of life being so grateful.
So good.
You know,
So
that,
good.
that A, that we made it,
Yeah.
and B, that, Nancy, you've stood by me.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm
amazing.
grateful for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You guys
Yeah.
are heroes.
A lot of people come and
Amazing.
go, right?
What a
out of
great
church.
example.
And-
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
but she never leaves.
Yeah.
And
It's a
he
great
never
model.
goes, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Really good.
It's been a joy having you guys on this podcast.
Thank you.
Good
We loved
chat
it.
to you.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled you're in Dallas.
Yeah.
We want you to
Thank
make this
you.
your USA home base.
Home base.
Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Yeah.
Love it.
In fact, what we ought to do is
So much
just
to see.
exchange one year.
Hey.
Yeah, y'all come
Hey.
and lead this congregation for a month, and
Come
I'll
on,
get
you're
you.
coming to the
as well,
Sunshine
okay.
Coast.
Yeah, that's right.
Come on, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for joining us today in this podcast. I hope you have really enjoyed it, and not only enjoyed it, but really gotten something that you could use for your marriage and your relationship. Pastor John, Pastor Danielle, thank you so much for being with us.
Such
we
a
love you
privilege.
guys.
Pleasure.
If this
Thank
is the
you.
kind of content you like, please hit like and
Do it.
join
Come on,
our
subscribe.
C3 Trinity Dallas family.
Come on.
And we'd love to have you a part of this podcast. We drop every Tuesday a conversation like this. God bless you and thank you for joining.